Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Wednesday, April 26th. Over the last 1 to 2 weeks, we've seen drier conditions over much of western, central, and southern Nevada, into southern areas of the Great Basin, and even parts of central Utah. This is obviously well below normal for the time of year with these very dry conditions. However, we have had some moisture with systems dropping down from the north across Idaho into Wyoming and northern Utah over the last 7 days. Much of this precipitation is generally near or below normal, but we do have some areas in west central Idaho, eastern Idaho, and even down into Utah or Wyoming where this has been above normal for the last 14 days. The satellite loop from this morning shows the latest trough of low pressure that moved through yesterday is now well to the east into the eastern side of the Rockies, and we do have a strong ridge of high pressure building in along the west coast. This ridge will gradually move eastward, although we will have one cold front moving down from the north later this week, which will affect the eastern side of the basin. Beyond that, the strong ridge will build in all areas, and we'll see a significant warming and drying trend. So again, later today, that ridge is mainly off the west coast. We will see later today that cold front starting to drop into Montana. We'll see some clouds increase, maybe a few showers over eastern Idaho today, but it's really tomorrow that we see the brunt of that cold front dropping south. Otherwise, fire potential remains low in most areas. The only exception is the far south, where we've seen quite a bit of warmer and drier conditions recently, and we are seeing the grasses cure out in these lower elevations, especially in many of these areas. So we are kind of pushing past the green up process in the far south. Looking at the transport winds and the mixing heights for today, just some breezier north winds behind that cold front that moved through yesterday with that system to our east over parts of Arizona into Utah, otherwise lighter winds. Mixing heights will remain moderate to high. We will see lower relative humidity over southern and western areas of the basin that are on the dry side. Could see single digits over southern areas and low teens over western and central Nevada. But it's really only the far south that fuels are starting to cure out. Other areas, most of the fuels are still in green up, although we are seeing some purpling of the cheatgrass in some of these western and central areas that have been drier and warmer recently. Dispersion will remain quite good over southern and eastern areas as that system from yesterday continues to move east and pour further north and west with those lighter winds. As we move into Thursday, again, that cold front drops down later today and tonight, and by Thursday is moving through Wyoming into northern Utah. So we will see some gustier north winds, especially across Utah, and also some light shower activity in Wyoming, eastern Idaho, and northern and eastern Utah going into Thursday. Otherwise, our significant fire potential remains unchanged. We will continue to see gradually warming temperatures on the west side of the basin as that ridge moves east. Otherwise, the transport winds, you can see those gustier winds from Idaho and Wyoming down into Utah tomorrow with that cold front that's dropped south. So we will see some wind gusts in the 30s, possibly above 40 miles per hour. Mixing heights will remain moderate to high. Looking at relative humidity, still lowest in the far south with single digits and then teens or near 10% over western areas of the Great Basin, but those higher humidities with the cold front and the showers will continue across Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah. Otherwise, dispersion really increases on Thursday with those winds. The only exception will be the west side of the basin, closer to that ridge of high pressure. Looking at the general weather pattern for Friday, that cold front is pushed east by this amplifying ridge and strong ridge that moves into the Great Basin. Temperatures will be well above normal. We'll see temperatures 10 to 20 degrees above normal later this week. Going into the weekend, some areas, especially across the western side of the basin, will see near record or record-breaking temperatures. And again, we'll see those above normal temperatures further east by Friday. Significant fire potential, we will start to see a little bit more of an increase in fire potential in southern and eastern areas as we go into the weekend. Transport winds, the strongest winds on Friday as that cold front pushes east and south, will be across the Arizona Strip, lower elevation, grasses, and a little bit higher fire potential. So if we do get a start, we certainly could see the fires run for a little bit during the burning hours and during these gustier winds. Mixing heights remain moderate to high. Relative humidity, again, we'll see a little bit of an increase Thursday and Friday over eastern Utah, even pushing down in the far southeast corner of the state, but still single digits in teens further west. Dispersion will remain good over southern and eastern areas with those gustier winds and a little bit more on the poor side, closer to the ridge in the west and further north where winds are lighter. Again, temperatures continue to climb this week. We'll likely see a maximum temperature sometime this weekend, depending on which part of the basin. but temperatures will increase from the 50s and 60s over the east side of the basin today to the 70s and 80s by Sunday. So again, significant warming. This will also play a role in increasing our snowmelt going forward, especially later this week and through the weekend. There are flood watches in effect for the western side of the Great Basin in Nevada, for the streams rising and the snowmelt increasing with these really warm temperatures. So definitely expect some waters to rise and potential flood concerns going into the weekend, especially where these warm temperatures will be in place for multiple days. 3-day amounts of precipitation, just light precipitation with that cold front dropping down from the north going into Thursday. By Saturday, again, that ridge just dominates and moves eastward, and this continues into Sunday as well. Fire potential, you'll start to see that increase over eastern areas of Utah a little bit further north with these warmer and drier conditions. By Sunday, we do have a trough of low pressure moving in along the west coast, which will help push this ridge eastward. So again, over the eastern side of the basin, the highest temperatures will probably be more in the Sunday-Monday time period. Looking at Monday, this trough starts to move into northern California, so we'll start to see some clouds and showers along with cooler temperatures over the western side of the Great Basin. Still those warm temperatures on the eastern side of the basin for Monday with that strong ridge in place. And we will see that fire potential, again, continue to creep up a little bit further north into Utah on Monday. But then we will start to see that trough continue to push a little bit further eastward going into Tuesday, so still affecting mainly the western side of the Great Basin with little change in our significant fire potential. Forecast amounts of precipitation through Monday, nothing noteworthy to speak of under that ridge. By the time we get to the Monday through Wednesday time period, this is where that trough starts to move in. So we will see cooler temperatures and that precipitation mainly affecting the western half of Nevada, up into Idaho, and even up into Wyoming as well. And the 7-day total precip, taking into account what will occur this week with the cold front and then next week with that approaching low. So still dry areas from southern Idaho south through much of Utah, southern and eastern Nevada. So those areas that will see those warm temperatures and fire potential start to creep up a little bit. The 8 to 14 day outlook, taking us from May 3rd through May 9th, shows generally cooler and wetter conditions returning. So we will have this period of very warm temperatures and dry conditions with that increase in snowmelt. But then we will see that shift with troughs moving in for the early part of May, bringing us those cooler temperatures at times with precipitation. But we'll continue to monitor that for flood concerns. Obviously, any precipitation with the temperatures, even if they're on the cool side for the time of year, we'll still certainly expect that snowmelt to continue. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Monday for the latest updates.